the oak tree metaphor instead of the clock metaphor. The Romantic period's associated with this organic sense, right? And it's constantly duplicating, constantly growing. And so when you've got this self-consciousness is, to begin with, simple being for itself. It's not highlighted. Self-equal through the exclusion from itself of everything else. For it, its essence and absolute object is I, ich, right? And in this immediacy, or in this mere being of its being for itself, it is an individual. What is other for it is an unessential, negatively characterized object. But the other is also a self-consciousness. One individual is confronted by another individual. Appearing thus immediately on the scene, they are for one another like ordinary objects, independent shapes, etc. So this is like almost like a novel of a process of people meeting one another. It's not like Jane Austen, where the guy's always wrong, but instead, you read Pride and Prejudice? Emma? Anybody read Jane Austen's name someplace? Yes. I had to read every single one of those novels. It's not fair. You guys should have to read them too. It's painful. At least if you're a male, because the males are so dumb. God. Mr. Darcy wants me to puke. It's so dumb. I mean, he's literally talked out of taking care of his mother because of his wife's... Okay, forget it. All right. So shoot, we're almost done. Was this exciting?
I thought it was exciting.
It's really important because it's how our contemporary society sees the way things change. We're into a dynamic... we talk about the dialectical process all the time. Keep in mind that the dialectic doesn't mean you have the so-called thesis or original situation, and then it automatically brings up the antithesis. Okay, so that's how we describe it. But the antithesis doesn't have to be the exact opposite of the thesis, right? So you have the MAGA folks and you have the liberal folks, but look at the dynamic range of all the possibilities in our country. Iowa. What's going on in Iowa? Are all the women, not all the women, but an awful lot of the women voting, opposite, the way that Iowa normally has? I mean, it's been a red state. And all of a sudden now the women apparently are tipping it. Is it going to vote blue? We'll find out tomorrow. Well, maybe not. Maybe we won't find out tomorrow. It should be interesting. So this dynamic interplay that we could call a dialectical process, which the word itself goes back to the Greeks. The Greeks, Heraclitus talked about dialectic. So the idea that there's this kind of yin and yang. I mean, if you're into Chinese philosophy, yin and yang is really beautiful. One of my favorite shirts is a Disney World shirt that has the shape of the Mickey Mouse with the ears, except it's a yin and yang picture, including the ears. So
is it three separate yin and yang?
it has a circle, which is the yin and yang, but then it has the two ears, which are also like part of the, I forget how to describe it, but so it's like Disney yin and yang. So it's really neat. And I don't know where it came from. Somebody bought it for me, I think. Or I stole it. I don't know. Where did I get it? But so the dialectical process doesn't mean it has to be the direct opposite. It's instead, you have a situation, but the situation doesn't stay. It changes. You sit in a chair, You're relaxed because, oh, that chair feels so good after mowing the lawn. If you had done something so ridiculous, right? And you come in and you sit down and you feel good. But after a while, sitting in a comfortable chair that felt good, it doesn't feel good anymore. You got to get up. How did that happen? You know, in the old philosophies, you think sitting in the chair feels good. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. How did that happen, right? Well, with this dynamic dialectical process, every situation has within itself the source of its antithesis, right? And so when you get the thesis and the antithesis, and that collides somehow and creates the new synthesis, which is the new thesis. And that thesis then has an antithesis. And the antithesis interacts with the thesis and it moves on to a new synthesis. So that's process. That's how change takes place, right? It's a constant now, as Sonia Hoffman says in the movie, right? You constantly have something happening. So, there's a wonderful article. Let's see if I could find it. Hegel. Who thinks abstract Marxist internet? So this is by Hegel in 1808. That's funny. Think abstractly. This was in a newspaper, by the way. This is a newspaper article. Save yourself. Let those who can save themselves. Even now I can hear a traitor bought by the enemy. Remember, Germany was at war with the French. Exclaim these words, denouncing this essay because it will plainly deal with metaphysics. For metaphysics is a word no less than abstract, and almost thinking as well, from which everybody more or less runs away as from a man who has caught the plague. But the intention here really is not so wicked, as if the meaning of thinking and of abstract were to be explained here. There is nothing the beautiful world finds as intolerable as explanations. I too find it terrible when somebody begins to explain, for when worst comes to worst, I understand everything myself. Here's the explanation of thinking in abstract. Here, the explanation of thinking in abstract would in any case be entirely superfluous, for it is only because the beautiful world knows what it means to be abstract that it runs away. Just as one does not desire what one does not know, one also cannot hate it. Nor is it in my intent to try craftily to reconcile the beautiful world with thinking or with the abstract, as if, under the semblance of small talk, thinking and the abstract were to be put over till in the end they had found their way into society incognito, without having aroused any disgust, even as if they were to be adopted imperceptibly by society, or, as the Schwabians say, Schwabia is where the Black Forest is, down the southern, the Schwabes, they call them. He is Schwab, by the way. He's a Schwabe. Say, Hereingesellt. Well, whatever. It's already included, I suppose. Before the author of this complication suddenly exposed the strange guest, namely, the abstract, whom the whole party had long treated and recognized under a different title, as if he were a good old acquaintance. Well, I better shut up. But this is fun. This is a funny thing. Who thinks abstractly? The uneducated, not the educated. Good society does not think abstractly because it is too easy, because it is too lowly, not referring to the external status, not from an empty affectation of nobility that would place itself above that of which it is not capable, but on account of the inward inferiority of the matter. The prejudice and respect for abstract thinking are so great that sensitive nostrils will begin to smell some satire or art. So So thinking abstractly is dumb.
What does he mean by thinking abstractly?
Thinking everything is conceptual, that a box, has all these characteristics instead of what real boxes have. So in this article, he's making fun of people who only think abstractly, not those people who are familiar with the real situations, as opposed to that. There's a section here where the old woman, your eggs are rotten, the maid says to the market woman. What? She replies, my eggs rotten? You may be rotten, you say that about my eggs? You? Did not lice eat your father on the highways? Didn't your mother run away with the French? Didn't your grandmother die in a public hospital? Let her get a whole shirt instead of that flimsy scarf. We know well where she got that scarf and her hats from the French officers. That's she doesn't leave one thread on her. Although, could very well have been that her eggs are rotten, in the market. Solely under the crime that she has found the eggs rotten.
Dot does protest too much.
It's a funny article. And for Germans, that's saying something. Okay, I quit. I think, right? What time do we... Is that clock wrong? What time is it? 12:45. That's when I'm supposed to stop. Where you shoot me, right?
Yep.
So it's 12:45. Any questions though? I can stick around.
What classes are you taking?
This one again. I'd love to get into other things, but it's probably not going to happen. Ever.
What? You're not talking a lot?
Oh, no, I'm not eligible to teach the 300, and I used to teach ethics, which was 300 level, but once we had enough PhDs, yes, yeah. I don't take off points or anything.
Okay, so then the question is, do you just my opinion? Because I just answer that.
Sure.
Just opinion.
Yeah, because I'm looking for your opinion. So your opinion is your opinion, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not going to look at your opinion and say, that's not your opinion.
No, but like, if you want, I don't know, to talk about some sentence or Aristotle or something, and then talk discuss.
You write about what you're interested in. This is your course.
Okay.
I want you to enjoy it and do what's interesting to you. It's different than other courses.
Yeah.
I don't have A, B, C, and D that you have to get through. No, I don't have it.
Okay. Thank you.
Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss. Das wieder. I don't know which language you speak. Which languages you do speak.
Catalan?
Ah, I like Catalan. I wish I could learn how to speak Catalan.
It's so pretty. It's a.
I know. I have Harry Potter in Spanish.
Yeah, but what kind of Spanish? South American?
I don't know.
Do you remember the accent or something? Or some words? Because we have, like...
If you look up...
We speak so different than South American people. And I think here you learn South American.
Yes, I know Catalan is like the best. And then you've got the other variations.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
That's...
So Spain is the main...
Yeah, I've talked with some of our Spanish teachers, and I understand how that works. Sorry about Valencia, by the way.
Thank you.
Hello.
I had a question about did we just start writing up for the next test, or was that test due this last week?
Test 2 is done already.
Yeah, I've
You
already
can
done that.
okay.
I
So
thought, last week you mentioned, I think it was Monday, you mentioned something about another test.
Test
I'm
3.
wondering if that was test 3.
Test 3, but test 3 is not due until like the very last week.
Oh, okay.
So, but like the question about, well, the Weltgeist, that's a quiz question.
Mhm.
But I do ask questions about Hegel,
Yeah.
you know, at each of the philosophers we're hitting, really.
So it's due sometime towards the end of
The very last, yeah, the term paper I have scheduled for the week before, the last, and then the test 3 is the last week.
last week.
'Cause that's not as much-
Last week is
Yeah, the last, which is what, December,
December 15th, somewhere in there.
well, December